Welcome back everyone. I just wanted to have a bit of fun with some charcoal and some watercolor this time. One of the things I've been doing of recent months is playing around with mixed media. What really interests me are insects, and in particular bees and wasps, but not to mention things like moths as well, especially the hummingbird hawk moth. But on this occasion I thought it'd be nice just to take a small piece of watercolor paper and a stick of charcoal and just play around. Now, why insects? Well, I don't have a special affinity. I don't have a tremendous knowledge of them. I just know that they're an integral part of our life as on this planet, and we're doing an awful lot in society not to take care of them. And bees, as we should all know, are endangered, and without them in our planet and in our ecosystem, we really don't have much of a future as a planet. They are fundamental into our well-being, so if we don't look after them, then we're going to create so many more problems, not just for the human race but for the world as a whole. So I'll get off my soapbox and let you carry on enjoying this, but I just really wanted to sort of sketch out the bee. What really interests me about them is the fact that it's their flight, it's the interaction with our plants and our lives. We see them buzzing around in the summertime and the springtime, feeding on the nectar of the plant, of the pollen in the plants that they find in our gardens, and also the wild ones in hedgerows and fields and other places. So I just really like to look and explore to see how I can suggest the movement of these insects. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually mixing up some water into the charcoal, and at the end of the day charcoal is merely a pigment. It's dry, as we all know, and it will move around, but add water to it and it becomes part of the water, and you can start moving the charcoal around a little bit like a paint. It's a little bit coarser, but it will work. So I'm just tilting down the thing because there's quite a bit of glare from the camera. But you can see that I've added some Indian yellow to this mix, a little bit of transparent orange coming in, and that just warms up those lovely bee shapes, the black and white or the black and yellow stripes that we so well know. But what you'll see me do is you'll see me deliberately overload the water content on the bee. I make no mistake about that. It's exactly what I'm attempting to do. They're not issues where I've let something drip. I am trying to make that happen. It's just part of what I'm doing with this sort of work. I don't call it abstracted. I just feel that I'm exploring the movement and the ephemeral nature, and also the transient nature of insects in general. I mean, they flit, they all over the place in front of our eyes, and you know, they bewilder us with their movement and their lifestyle and things they get up to, and the way they inspect every flower. So I don't want to ramble on too much, but at least you can see what's happening, and you can see the way that this paint is just sitting in globules and it's ready to drip, and I'm adding new pigments to it. The second wing in quite a strong orange, but all the time I'm just having fun, and this is the whole thing. The whole exercise is about fun and movement, and just seeing what happens with the paint and see where it goes. There's no, well, there is a structure to it, but there's no immediate structure to it. I'm not too worried if things don't go right. And if at the end of it I get something that I find is meaningful to me and maybe someone else, then I'll keep it. Otherwise I'll destroy it or decide on it later and move on to the next piece. But I've done quite a few of these now, and they seem to be going down extremely well with my clients, and people that come to the gallery are enjoying seeing them. just dropped a little bit of Aureolin into the top end of that wing there and let that run down and join with the other colour that was already there. And it just suggestive of two values in the wings. And now I'm actually coming back into strengthening up the body in charcoal. The paper's still damp, so you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't have too coarse a charcoal. Some of the brands can be a little bit coarse and they can tear into the paper, but if you've got one that you've been using, use that broken or soft edge of the charcoal that you've been working. That will be a little bit more tender on the paper and it shouldn't tear it. And I've found that I can sometimes get away with dragging the charcoal across a paper when it's actually wet, but it doesn't seem to work too well on the knot or the rough surface. For the hot press surface must have some form of, well, I suppose the heat process that creates it forms that paper into a smooth paper, must bond the surface that much more, because the paper itself will put up with an awful lot of punishment from the artist or from adding the paint. But in my case, I've also dragged across that paper while it's still wet with raw charcoal, and it doesn't seem to affect it. But if I did it to this paper, I would really come unstuck. But I'm just refining a few of the shapes now, the legs. I'm not trying to be accurate. I'm not at all. I know roughly how they go. I'm not even using a reference for this piece, other than the fact nearby I've got one of my former paintings that's merely acting as a suggestive guide to me. Otherwise, it's really just coming out of my head. And I think that you can try and get just too close to try and produce what the reality is. And this is nothing about reality. This is just about an exercise of having fun and trying to portray, as I said before, the movement. And I'm just reinforcing a bit of red, bit of orange into the flower. And it's something that the bee is aiming for and to investigate for its next bit of pollen. And I shall also reinforce the greens too while I'm at it. And we're pretty much there. I've got I think I'm going to add some more to the legs in a minute, just a little bit of colour, and to offset some of the warm colours that are in this. Things like adding these splatters are just really random. You have no idea how they're going to come off the brush and how they're going to mix with the colours below and how wet the colours they're landing on. So what the effects will be, it's very, very random. Other than the structure of the bee, everything is of course very random. Just reinforcing some Indian yellow and oranges into the body of the bee, just to where it gets into shadow, and it's really richer. Just adds to the weight of it, gives it more presence into the body there as well, under that where the wing is sort of casting some light through, so it gives rise, but you've got the beautiful oranges and red effects of the stripe there. You can see how easily that charcoal mixes in with the pigments that you're using. As I said, it really is just a form of pigment. some of our earliest colours were just from grinding earth pigments down and mixing them with something that made them flow, and you had a crude form of paint. And charcoal really is no different to that. So now I'm going to add some blue violets, and it's ultramarine violet, into the eye and into the legs. They got this beautiful shiny carapace type of armor in the legs. They're really sort of segmented, and they're armor plated in a sense, very strong, and they have this sort of shininess to them. So I find by giving that a lovely blue or violet blue color just adds to that effect, but it also gives a nice cool treatment in the body against all those warm colors that have been used so far. I'm just trying to make that get a little bit weighty with the water, so it may just drip away. If it doesn't, it's no problem. There are other ways to make that happen. It's amazing sometimes when you want something to drip like that, how much water you've actually got to put into it to make it do it. And other times when you really aren't trying to make that happen, so all of a sudden the whole thing just cascades down the paper and you're left with this awful stain that you didn't ever want. So there's no rhyme nor reason to it, but that's the way it goes. I'm adding some gouache in now, some white gouache paint, which is opaque, and it allows me to reinforce what really is a white-tailed bee. And so I'm putting that in as suggesting that, but I don't want to leave it as white as this paint really suggests. So I'm going to actually mix in some pigment to that, which is off-white. Now it's actually using some of the Aureolin, and it's mixing with some of the violet blues and giving it a shadow. So it's what's naturally occurring by mixing with other colors, but you can still see that it's a white-tailed bee in conjunction with all those lovely oranges and yellows. So we're pretty much there. I'm just going to use a little spray bottle now and just activate the area around the feet and just make that paint that's sitting there bleed, just like that. It's interesting because, again, I have no idea what's going to happen with the paint, but it's just a bit more fun. But what I will do is I will just blot some of that back and let that come and not be as strong. It looks like a lightning strike, and although I want that, I don't want it to be totally strong. So I'm going to clean up the paper, sort it all out, and just tap back and just finish this off. So we're coming to the end of it, and I do hope you've enjoyed this. It's just been a bit of fun, just a few minutes of fun playing around with a spare bit of paper and an idea that runs through my head now and again of doing a bee or an insect and trying to make it move, trying to make the feeling fleeting, ephemeral, whatever you want to call it, but just trying to explore the movement in an animal. I do it with birds and birds in flight, ducks rising off the water, all these sorts of things, trying to create the movement and the feeling that is not just a static image. So I hope you've enjoyed it. As I say, if you have, maybe you would add some a like at the bottom, and maybe add a comment or two if you wish. And also, if you're not subscribers, I know I keep saying it, but I'm growing my audience. If you're not a subscriber, do me a favor, press that subscribe button. It helps me grow the audience, as I said, and it also lets you know when the next one of my videos up. And on that note, I am doing my utmost to make sure I try and put a video out every Thursday. It may not happen every Thursday, but I will promise I will do my best to make sure a video comes out on every Thursday. So until the next one, happy painting, enjoy this, have a go yourself, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye bye. Bye bye for now. Hi everyone, hope you enjoyed that.
don't forget to press that like button and also add any comments. But above all, please subscribe to the channel, and for your information, there's another video there and another video there. Catch you all next time. Bye bye for now. Bye bye.